The unseen touch. The strip mall on the edge of town was a husk of its former self, its cracked asphalt lot dotted with weeds and faded parking lines. Tucked in the far corner, where the streetlights barely reached, was a small storefront with a flickering neon sign, Lunar Serenity Spa. It was half hidden behind a shuttered electronics store and a laundromat that hadn't seen a customer in years. The spa's windows were frosted, and the only indication of life was the faint glow of the sign, pulsing like a weak heartbeat. I'd been out all day, my arms laden with bags from a thrift store haul, old vinyl records, and a couple of dog-eared paperbacks. My shoulders ached from carrying the weight, and my phone buzzed in my pocket as I wandered toward the bus stop. I paused to check it, setting my bags down on the pavement, and that's when I noticed the spa. Its sign was hard to miss once you saw it, the neon casting an eerie blue glow that seemed to hum with invitation. I'd never had a massage before. The idea of someone's hands working over my body felt invasive, but the day had been long and my bank account was flush from a freelance gig. Why not treat myself? A chalkboard sign leaned against the storefront, listing services and prices in smudged, uneven handwriting. A 30-minute full-body massage was only $12, cheap enough to feel like a steal, suspicious enough to make me hesitate. Other options included reflexology and something called aura cleansing, but I dismissed those as new age nonsense. The mall was quiet, the shops closing up for the night, and I figured a quick massage might be just the thing to unwind before heading home. A smaller sign in the window promised total rejuvenation of body and spirit. I scoffed, but pushed open the door anyway. The air inside was thick with the scent of lavender and something earthier, like damp soil. A woman greeted me from behind a small counter, her smile wide and unnervingly eager, as if I were the first customer she'd seen in weeks. Her eyes gleamed under the dim fluorescent light, and she asked if I wanted a massage before I could even speak. I nodded, specifying the 30-minute full-body option, and she ushered me past a row of empty chairs toward a narrow hallway. The lobby was sparse, save for a peculiar statue on the counter, a grotesque fusion of insect legs, tentacle-like arms, and a vaguely human face, its eyes carved too deep, like they were watching me. I chalked it up to some obscure cultural artifact and followed her. The hallway was dimly lit, the walls bare, except for a faint, unplaceable odor that grew stronger as we walked. She led me to a small room with a massage table draped in a crisp white sheet, a single counter, and a hook on the wall. A plastic tray sat on the counter, lined with paper towels that reeked of antiseptic. 2 weak bulbs flickered overhead, casting long shadows that seemed to shift when I wasn't looking. The woman instructed me to hang my jacket, empty my pockets into the tray, and remove my shoes. I complied, sliding my boots under the table and setting my phone, keys, and wallet in the tray. She gestured to the table, and I lay face down, my head resting in the cushioned cradle, the whole covered with a thin cloth that smelled faintly of bleach. She asked if I was comfortable, and I mumbled an affirmative, my face pressed into the cradle. She gave my shoulders a quick exploratory squeeze, testing for tension, I assumed, before saying the masseuse would be with me shortly. The door clicked shut, and soft music began to play, a droning melody of chimes and synths that felt like it was seeping into my skull. It was soothing at first, lulling me into a state of half-awareness, my mind drifting as I waited. I didn't hear the door open again, but I felt the presence of someone new. Hands touched my back, cold and firm, and a voice muttered something too low to catch. I tried to say hello, but it came out muffled against the cradle. The hands began their work, starting at my calves, kneading with a strength that bordered on pain. I tensed, unaccustomed to the sensation, but forced myself to relax, not wanting to seem like a novice. The hands moved upward, gripping my thighs with a force that made me wince. I bit my lip, trying not to groan, unsure if it was pleasure or discomfort. When they reached my lower back, the pressure intensified, fingers digging into muscles I didn't know I had. It was deep, almost invasive, and I felt my body resist, only for the hands to push harder, as if punishing my tension. The music swelled, a single unbroken track that seemed to pulse in time with the kneading. I tried to focus on the melody, to let it carry me away, but something felt off. The hands on my back didn't feel right. There were too many points of contact, too many fingers pressing into my flesh. I counted them in my mind, my breath catching as I realized there were at least 6 on each hand, moving independently, like the legs of an insect crawling over me. My heart pounded, but I couldn't move, frozen by a mix of fear and disbelief. They climbed to my shoulders, their grip tightening, and I felt a sharp, claw-like sensation, as if the fingers were tipped with something harder than nails. "Is this okay?" the masseuse asked, their voice flat, almost mechanical. I nodded weakly, too afraid to speak, hoping compliance would make it end faster. The hands moved to my neck, and the pressure became unbearable. Fingers, or whatever they were, digging into my spine with a force that felt like it could snap bone. I gasped, my vision sparking with pain, and the hands paused, only to resume with even greater intensity. Then they reached my head. One hand, impossibly wide, cupped my skull, pinning it to the cradle. I tried to lift my head to escape the suffocating cloth, but the grip was unyielding. Another hand brushed my ear, not gently, but with a flick that stung, dismissive, as if my body were an inconvenience. The hand switched, repeating the gesture on the other ear, and I felt a sickening twist in my stomach. This wasn't a massage. This was something else, something wrong. The hands slid down to my arms, pulling them forward with a strength that made my joints ache. Fingers, too many fingers, interlocked with mine, wrapping around them like vines. They pulled, stretching my fingers backward until I was sure they'd break. I whimpered, the pain blinding, but the music drowned out my sounds, its chimes now discordant, grating. The hands released my arms, and I heard footsteps move to the foot of the table. My socks were yanked off, and something cold and flexible, too flexible, gripped my toes. They bent them back, the pain shooting up my legs, and I clenched my jaw to keep from screaming. The socks were roughly shoved back on, and I felt tears prick my eyes. Then, without warning, the table creaked as something heavy climbed onto it. Weight pressed into my back, not just sitting, but grinding down, as if trying to crush me. The music hit a feverish pitch, harps shrieking in a way that felt alive, mocking. And then the blows began. Fists, too many fists, rained down on my back, each strike carrying the force of a sledgehammer. They came from every angle, relentless, pummeling my flesh into something soft and broken. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, only endure as my body was battered into submission. The assault lasted seconds, maybe, but it felt like an eternity, each impact reverberating in my bones. The weight lifted, and I heard a wet, slithering sound, like a bundle of ropes being dragged across the floor. It wasn't mechanical, not quite organic either, just wrong. The footsteps retreated, soft and deliberate, and I lay there, trembling, too terrified to move. A moment later, new footsteps entered, lighter, human. A voice spoke, warm and professional. "Hi, I'm Mia, your masseuse. Sorry for the wait. We don't get many clients this late. Ready to begin?" I bolted upright, my body screaming in protest. I grabbed my jacket, my shoes, my belongings from the tray, not caring how I looked. "I'm done," I stammered, stumbling out of the room. At the counter, I threw a crumpled $20 bill down, ignoring the confused stares of the woman and the new masseuse. I ran, the neon signs glow chasing me as I fled into the dark parking lot, the bus stop forgotten. Whatever had touched me in that room wasn't human, and I'd never set foot in that cursed corner of the mall again.